Data-Driven Summit, Jean Joseph, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present at the summit today. And thank you so much, Adriano, for moderating my session. Before beginning, just let's get started. I mean, having that anxiety levels, I need to get calmed down. So a little bit introduction about me. I'm a database administrator with 8 years of experience in managing SQL Server and databases. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft certified solution expert. I did my master's in computer technology at Eastern Illinois University, and I do blog for dbanuggets.com. That's my website. And if you would like to get in touch with me later, Twitter is a place. At DBA Nuggets is my user ID. It will be an honor to get in touch with you later. So as the agenda, we are going to see the deployment options we have in the Azure. We are going to talk about each and every service tier and how they differ from each other. And in the demo, we are going to simply see how we can create the Azure SQL database using the Azure portal. And the key takeaways and the most important thing for this session is the next step, the last slide, where I'm going to provide you all the resources that you need to start your Azure journey. So why I started learning Azure in the first place? I started learning Azure a couple of months ago, and while I was learning Azure, I documented a couple of things and I put things together to make it as a presentation. So because Azure is one of the cloud technologies that is available in the market currently, and many companies are planning to migrate as quickly as possible. And my company is planning as well to move the Azure to move the on-prem SQL servers to Azure as soon as possible. So I'm a regular SQL Server DBA. I do not know anything about Azure. So my company definitely expects me to take the responsibility of moving all my on-prem SQL servers to Azure. So I definitely need the knowledge of knowing how we have to migrate, what all deployments options we have, and what are those purchases. I thought of learning Azure. Adriano, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I started learning Azure, and at the same time, I went ahead and saw many career opportunities currently available in the market. I went ahead and I saw the what are the career opportunities I have out there, and there are many companies looking for the Azure DBAs to migrate all of those on-prem SQL servers to the Azure. And pay-wise, right, the pay scale is really good. And in the requirements, most of them were asking for the Azure certifications. So companies are looking for the potential candidate who have these certifications. Maybe that will be a way of letting them know that hey, these people are certified, so they have the ability to move the SQL servers to Azure. So taking the certifications, learning the Azure, starting your journey right now and taking the necessary certifications for your future career is really important. So let's go ahead and see what all deployment options we have in Azure. There are two main deployment options. One is infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service. Under infrastructure as a service, we have SQL Server on Azure VM. And under the platform as a service, we have Azure SQL Managed Instance and Azure SQL Database. So in this session, we are mainly focusing on Azure SQL Database, but let's go ahead and talk about each of these deployment options. SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine is just like the SQL Server on-prem, but the main difference between these two are if you have your SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine, Microsoft is going to take care of your backups. So they will do the automated backups and security patches for you. And for example, if you are on-prem and if you have the older versions of SQL Server, like SQL Server 2008, you do not have any support available right now if you are on-prem. But if you move your older versions of SQL Server to Azure virtual machines, Microsoft is going to expand the security updates for you for older versions of SQL Server as well. And you can, by putting your SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine, just like on-prem, you still have the ability to control your operating system, at the same time, control your instance-wide capabilities like instance features as well. And you can install Azure Virtual Machine on and SQL Server on it by two ways. Like you can manually go ahead and install Azure VM and then install your SQL Server on it manually, but uh, you can also install them by a single click using images. So what are these images? Images are the pre-packaged, pre-installed packages of the Azure Virtual Machine and SQL Server version on it. So they have different combinations of versions that you can choose from. And once you choose and install them with a single click, your Azure Virtual Machine is ready. And if you open your Azure Virtual Machine, the SQL Server version you choose is already installed on it. So that's the advantage. And by using these images, right, you have this extension known as SQL IaaS extension is automatically installed if you uh, if you install using the image. So what is this extension? This extension is free and it is useful for the automate management and administrative task on your Azure virtual machine. So it will unlock certain features if you have this extension. So if you wanted to manually go ahead and install, right, you have to install this SQL IaaS extension manually. So it is only automatically installed when you install using images. So how do these images look like? Right side your screen, if you see the SQL virtual machine, underneath that you have different combinations of the versions of um, uh, virtual machine as well as the SQL Server. So for example, if you see the first one, SQL Server 2019 on Windows Server 2019. So you can scroll down and get all of those combinations that you need. And with a single click, you can install Azure VM and SQL Server on it. So let's talk a little bit about SQL managed instance. With the SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine, you have the ability to control the operating system as well as the SQL Server instance-wide capabilities, right? But if you do not want to take care of the operating system, if you want to um, uh, leave that to the Microsoft, then SQL managed instance is right for you because you don't have to take care of the operating system and the patches and everything. All you can take care is the SQL managed instance, and you can use all of the capabilities that you have for the managed instance, like for the instance level capabilities. Like you can use SQL Server Agent, Service Broker, DBmail, link services, etc. Like all of the capabilities that you can use on an instance. But operating system wise, you do not have the ability to go and control the folders, or you do not have that ability to look into them. The last option is the Azure SQL database, which we are mainly focusing in this session. If you do not want to control the operating system, or you do not want the instance level capabilities because you are trying to build in modern cloud application, you wanted to build a new SQL database, and all you wanted to get is a database, then Azure SQL database is right for you because you only get the database, you will not get the instance or an operating system with it. Your database is going to be a full recovery model because Microsoft is going to take care of the service level agreement. And the service level agreement for the Azure SQL database is 99.995%. So to get that SLA, database should always be in the full recovery model. So you cannot change that. An Azure SQL database can manage up till 4 terabyte of space. But if your database is continuously growing and you wanted to scale up, you can go to hyperscale. Hyperscale is where you can handle up till 100 terabyte of space. And as you only get Azure SQL database and not the instance, there will not be SQL Server agent with it. Let's do some of the comparisons. We are not showing all of the comparisons here, but let's see the main important comparisons between Azure SQL database versus Azure SQL managed instance. The change data capture is not there in Azure SQL database, but it's there in the managed instance. The common language runtime, not there in Azure SQL database, but it's there in the managed instance. The cross database or three-part name queries, like the database name, dot schema name, dot table name, you cannot do that by using Azure SQL database. The cross database transaction from one database to other database, you cannot do that. But there is an option where you can solve this problem by using the Elastic queries, which we are not going to discuss in this session. It's out of scope from this session. This is an introductory session, right? So you can solve that by using the Elastic queries. Database mail is not available in Azure SQL database because we do not get any instance level capabilities, right? Resource governor, it's not there. But especially for the Azure SQL database, you have automatic tuning. So what that means is Microsoft will automatically go ahead and monitor the indexes that are not being used. So you need to go ahead and turn this option on. So to have that automatic tuning capabilities. So it will go ahead and, but you need to be very careful because sometimes your queries only runs a couple of times a year. So it will definitely show up like the indexes that are underneath those queries are not being used. So you need to make sure and be careful to turn it on. And SQL Server Agent is also not available in Azure SQL Database, like we discussed. And for the a complete list of comparisons, there are several features that are different from both of these. So for the complete list, please follow the Microsoft talk down below. So what are the uses of Azure SQL Database? Like I said, if you wanted to build a new application, all you need is just a database, and you want to reduce the cost as much as possible, because by using the Azure SQL database, you do not have to buy any physical hardware, or you do not have to worry about the patching, or you do not have to worry about the upgrades as well, because Azure SQL database is versionless. And underneath the hood, by just getting the Azure SQL database, underneath the hood, the high availability is already built in. You do not have to worry about, creating the infrastructure to build that high availability by yourself. It's already built in. So it is highly scalable. Performance wise, it improves a lot because you have automatic tuning kind of capabilities in Azure SQL. And security wise is also, you do not worry about the security because you have those private links that you can enable, which are very secure. So how we can deploy all of these options, deployment options that we talked about? We can deploy by using a couple of options. Of course, by using the Azure portal in a basic way. And also you can use Azure command line interface to do that. ARM templates you can use, and infrastructure as a code by using the PowerShell, Pulumi, Terraform, or Bicep. These are the infrastructure as a code that you can also use to deploy very quickly. We are mainly focusing on Azure portal because this is a fundamental session here. So what about the purchasing models and how much does it cost if we wanted to use any of these deployment options, right? So basically we have two purchasing models here. First is the DTU model, which is the basic model. DTU meaning database transaction per unit, which is basically the bundle of resources combinedly together. So you cannot separate your compute and the storage. But if you choose a DTU, a certain amount of DTU, you have that all the resources combinedly together. You cannot separate them. It is very easy to choose from, very easy to get started with. We have three tiers in it under DTU: basic, standard, and premium. So if you wanted to improve the performance, right? If you are in basic and if you want to improve the performance, you need to scale up from to the standard or the premium based upon your workload. And if you increases tires, your performance also will increase. At the same time, the price will also increase. So the recommended purchasing model by Microsoft is a vCore model. vCore model in like when we compare with the DTU model, right? DTU is like combinedly all the resources combinedly together comes under DTU. But under the vCore, you can basically choose the compute as well as storage separately. So we do have three service tier under the vCore model: general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. So we are going to see what are these tiers and how they differ from each other in the very next slide. But under the vCore, we have something known as Azure Hybrid Benefit, where if you already have certain licenses, certain number of licenses on your on-prem servers, and if you wanted to move to Azure, right, you can trade in um, those on-prem licenses when you move to Azure. And apart from that, you will also get 40% of discount, up till 40% of discount once you move to Azure. There is the other thing known as reserved capacity, where you can go ahead and ahead of time, if you can promise Microsoft that you are going to use certain resources in the coming 1 to 3 years of time, you might also get the 40% of discount, up till 40% of the discount once you move to Azure. And vCore model, as it is recommended by Microsoft, this is the only option you can choose if you wanted to install SQL managed instance. You cannot choose the DTU model for SQL managed instance. But this DTU model, you can use this purchasing model for the Azure SQL database. And for the complete differences between each of these tiers for the DTU model, you can go ahead and look into the Microsoft docs down below. So how does the DTU model look like, right? We have three tiers under the DTU model: database transaction per unit, basic, standard, and premium. So everything gets into bundle, right? We cannot separate the compute as well as the storage. Everything is in a bundle. But so if you wanted to use more memory but less amount of storage, still you have to pay for the complete DTU that you're choosing from. But that's not the case with the vCore model. You can separate out the compute as well as storage. Under the vCore model, we have general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. Especially under the general purpose, we have two different compute tiers: provision and serverless. Provision is where you have the applications connecting to the database regularly. Uh, you have the traffic all the time to your database. In that scenario, you are going to use provision. But if you are only using your database at certain period of time, in a day or in a week, you can go ahead and pause your database when you are not using it to save the money. So we are going to see that in the coming slide as well. So here under the vCore model, we can go ahead and choose the compute and storage separately, right? So you can scale up or scale down accordingly. And while you scale up and scale down, you can clearly see the estimated cost per month right side your screen as you scale up or scale down. So under the vCore model, like I said, we have three service tiers: general purpose, business critical, and hyperscale. Under the general purpose, basically the name itself says it is used for the most of the business users for the general purpose. And it is the lowest budget model that we have when you compare with the other tiers. And we only get one primary, and we do not have any secondary standbys readily available. If you wanted to fail over, it might take a little bit amount of time. When compared with the business critical, it might take a little bit more time to create that secondary standby available. And underneath the general purpose, like we discussed, we have two compute tiers only under the general purpose, which is provision as well as the serverless. And under the general purpose, right, we can scale up to 80 vCores, and our database can handle up till 4 terabyte of space. When it comes to the business critical, this is for the most business cases where your databases are so critical, you cannot go downtime. Most of the in-memory OLTP systems, and if you have the reporting purposes where you wanted to also use the read-only secondaries, underneath the hood for the business critical, there are readily available secondaries, readable secondaries available with very low latency when compared with the general purpose. So the cost also will increase because the features are increasing here. And under the business critical, we can handle up till 128 vCores, we can scale up to. And size wise, right, it can be up till 4 terabytes of space. But if your database is continuously growing, you need more space, then you have to scale up to hyperscale. And hyperscale is the only option available for SQL Azure, like single Azure SQL database, and it can handle up till 100 terabytes of space. And underneath the hood, Microsoft has that algorithm where uh, the data is saved with the different layers of cache. And that is the reason they can easily do the restores point in time. And there are 4 readable replicas available in hyperscale, and we can scale up till 80 vCores. And there are several other differences between these service types. I have placed only the important ones here, but I have provided you the source where you can go and look into the Microsoft doc. So underneath the general purpose service tier, right, we have 2 compute tiers, provision and serverless. Provision is where you always have the traffic going on to the database, applications are connecting to the database all the time. Then you choose provision if you wanted to go under the general purpose. And no matter how many, like if you already choose a certain amount of resources under provision, you have to pay for what you choose. But that's not the case with the serverless. Like for example, let's take an application where you only use the application and the database at certain period of time. Let's say the time sheet. Everybody wants to connect on the Fridays and nobody's connecting to the database on the other days. Let's take an example of it. You can go ahead and pause the database because you are not using it from the times where you're not using it. So you can pause it so that you can only pay for the storage and not for the other resources like compute, like memory. You do not have to use that, but you can only pay for the storage. So underneath the serverless, right, you can choose the minimum and maximum number of vCores. So even though you have the traffic at the time of the database usage, uh, it will be scaled up and scaled down only between those number of vCores that you are choosing from. And you will be billed only for the resources that are being used. By this, you can save a lot of money, right? Because you are not paying for the compute, you are only paying for the storage. Couple of the points to remember. I try to use database name just like we use in the on-prem SQL Server. That did not work. It failed actually, because Azure SQL database you cannot use database name because we only get the database name. We do not get the server where that database is actually pointing to. So, but you can still uh, use the drop-down menu from your management studio and put the database in the context, but you cannot do that in T-SQL, use database name. And once you choose the tier, right, once you upgrade your tier from the general purpose or from the business critical to hyperscale, you cannot go back again to general purpose or business critical. We need to remember that. And once you choose the hyperscale service tier, right, Microsoft is going to take care of adding the space that you need, like in the form of 10 GB as a chunk. You will not choose the data size by yourself. You do not control that. So how do we create our Azure SQL database? This is I'm going to show you in a very simple way by by using GUI, by using the Azure portal. So once you log in into portal.azure.com, you can go ahead and search for the resources. Azure SQL, or you can search in the Azure services if it is available. If it's not available under the Azure services, you can go ahead and search Azure SQL, which will open up a window of Azure SQL. Go ahead and click on create. So you'll get all the deployment options that we have, right? SQL database, SQL managed instance, or SQL virtual machine. So here we are going to create an Azure SQL database. Click on create. So we have different tabs here. Let's look one at a time. The basics, where you will provide your subscription, and any resource that you create, like Azure SQL database, you need to put the database under a resource group. So if you already do not have a resource group, you can go ahead and create one on the fly here. Create a new, give it a name, click OK. And you need to provide the database name. You need to follow certain requirements here, that you cannot use the special characters. The length of the database should be only 128 characters, such kind of things. And we need to create a logical server. This is not a server, but it will, by creating the logical server, right, you will have the ability to go ahead and connect to the Azure SQL database by using your management studio. So if you generally connect to a database, you will connect to a server, right? But as we are not getting the instance of the SQL server, we will create a logical server where you can go ahead and connect to by using your management studio. Create new. We are going to create the logical server, give the server name, and give the server admin login, where you can go ahead and give this login and password while you are connecting to the Azure SQL database. Confirm the password and so give the location. Prefer to give the location where you are, because that will also depend how the latencies and the response time. If you are choosing the location where you are, you'll get the quicker response times. This is very important. So choose the location where you are, click OK. And the next thing is, it will ask you, want to use the SQL Elastic Pool. Elastic Pool is something where you have multiple database, combine it together, put it in a pool, so that the advantage is they share all the resources together between the pool. But we are only creating the Azure SQL database. We are not creating multiple databases here. So I'm clicking on no, which is by default, it is no. Then compute plus storage. I wanted to show you what all options we have here. So click on configure database, where it will take you for the compute tiers and the service tiers that we have previously discussed. If you click on service tier, you have these vCore model and the DTU model, right? Under the vCore model, if you see, you have general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. Under DTU, you have basic, standard, and premium. I wanted to choose the lowest cost ones, which is general purpose here. Under the vCore model, I'm choosing that. And if you choose the general purpose, right, you have two options, provision or serverless. So I'm going to choose the provision for my demo. Then hardware configuration. Click on change configuration. Gen 5 is the basic one, but if you wanted to scale up, you have other options here. The DC series, M series, these are basically for the hyperscale model, hyperscale service tier. I wanted to choose the basic one, Gen 5. And then choose the vCore model. You can scale up or scale down and see how much is the estimated cost. Right side of your screen, it will show you the estimated cost per month. You can choose the maximum data size as well as the compute and the storage separately here. And would you like to make this database zone redundant? I do not want to do the zone redundant right now, so I press no. Click on apply. And the backup storage redundancy. There are a couple of options here. Locally redundant backup storage is that it will store the copies of the database in the primary location locally. So that's the locally redundant. Zone redundant meaning it will store the copies of the database on the primary as well as at the in the different Azure availability zones as well, but it's still in the primary, in the same zone. Geo-redundant, meaning it will save the copies at the different secondary locations as well, asynchronously. So I wanted to choose the locally redundant backup storage. And if you go to the networking tab, under the network connectivity, you have three options. No access will not give you any access to the Azure SQL. Nobody can connect actually to the Azure SQL database. Public endpoint and the private endpoint. Private endpoint is the most secure one. For my demo, I'm just going to click on public endpoint. And under the firewall rules, I wanted to add my local computer to connect to the Azure SQL database because I wanted to use my management studio, local management studio to connect to this server. So I need to add the current IP address. So click on yes. Let's say you clicked on no here and try to connect using management studio. You cannot connect, it fails. So you have to come back even after creating the Azure SQL database. You still can add the current IP address later. So I'm clicking on yes here. And then under the under the connection policies, you have a couple of options like transparent layer security, which we are not going to discuss in this session, as this is a basic session. So I'm choosing the default one, which is TLS 1.2. And then under the security, right, we have Azure Defender for SQL, which is not for free. We need to pay for this feature. So basically, it will show you any it will give the ability to do the assessments, vulnerability assessments on your database, which is like $15 per server per month. So it has a cost associated with that. I clicked on no for now. Under the additional settings, you will choose like how do you wanted to get the data from to the database. So whether you wanted to create a database name itself. So I just wanted to create an empty database. I do not want to have any data in it because I wanted to create a sample table in it. So I clicked on none, which will just create a database name. But you can choose a backup. You can restore the backup, or you can choose sample to create that AdventureWorks 2012 database sample database here. So I clicked on none, and the collation, it's always the same collation by default. But if you wanted to change the collation, it is best to choose it here while you create the database, because once we create the database, later we cannot change the collation. It is difficult to do that. We cannot do that. Under the maintenance window, I'm choosing the default system default, which is 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. But you can choose the different options to have your maintenance window as well. Tags. Tags are something that they doesn't perform any action by itself, but these are just like the names that you can provide, which will be easy for you when you look at the pricing perspectives, when you can choose how much each of the database is costing. These tags will help you recognize which database you are talking about, which resource you are talking about. Click on review all of the options you choose, and then click on create. So once you click on create, it will take a couple of seconds to build the logical server, and on the top of it, the database. So deployment is in progress. First, the logical server will be built, and then the database. Once the deployment is complete, you can click on go to resource, which will show you the logical server name where we can go ahead and connect to that Azure SQL database. So you can copy the logical server name here, copy to the clipboard, open up your local management studio, give the server name, paste the server name, and then use the credentials that you have created while creating the logical server. So the SQL Server authentication, and then giving the ID, admin login password, right? Admin login and the password that we created, and then connect, which will open up the Azure SQL database. So we are currently connected to the logical server. It looks like the server itself, the server instance, SQL Server instance itself. But if you observe, we do not have the SQL agent, right? But you have the database, as well as we can go ahead and add the logins to it, add the users to it. So I'm going ahead and creating the table, a simple table with 3 records in it. And then I wanted to just um, query the table that I have created, which will give the results. So when you do your practice, when you create the tables, you might see the latencies like a little bit of slowness. If you scale up to the next service tier, you can see the difference easily of how fast the response times are. So backups are taken care by Microsoft. So how do these backups happens for our Azure SQL database? So uh, underneath the hood, they are globally replicated. The storage is globally replicated, and full backup is taken once per week. T-log backups are taken every 5 to 10 minutes. And differential backups are also taken once every 12 hours. But if I wanted to take the manual backup, right, we can take the manual backup by using Management Studio, like SQL Server Management Studio, or by using Azure Data Studio. Once we connect to the logical server, right click the database, go to the task, and click on the export data tier application, which will open up a window for you where you can go ahead and choose where you want to store that backup file. So this backup is created in the format .backpack, BAC format. So you can store in the local disk, or you can store it on the Azure, Microsoft Azure. But to do that, you need to have a storage account as well to do that. Currently, I'm doing it in the local disk, saving on the local disk, demo.backpack, and then verify the settings and then click OK. We can also do that by using the Azure Data Studio. So Azure Data Studio is an application where you can download and you can log in by using your ID and password, the Azure portal ID and password, to connect to your databases and all the resources that you have inside your Azure. Right click on the database and you have that option to take the backup. Now we have seen all the deployment options until now, service tiers, compute tiers, we have how to create our first Azure SQL database. But are there any tools that can help me migrate my on-prem servers to the Azure? Because I have no idea of how much it will cost once I move to Azure. We need to make sure we at least give the estimates of how much it might cost to our client, right, before migrating. There are certain tools that we can use to analyze our current workloads and give that estimate. So cost-wise, there is a tool known as Azure TCO, which is known as Total Cost of Ownership tool. Basically, it will calculate based upon your workloads, it will calculate how much it might cost for you to move to Azure. And there is also a tool known as Q Recommender, Azure SQL, which will actually use data migration assistant to analyze your workload, your data, and the workload of your database, and then give the recommendations of which compute tiers or which service tier might be good for your workload. And data migration assistant, as you might already know, we will be using it while upgrading the databases, right? So to check the compatibility issues and fix them before moving to Azure. And the other tool, SQL Azure Migration Wizard and Azure Database Migration Services, which you can use during the migration. The last one, it has a cost associated with it for this feature, for this service, Azure SQL, Azure Database Migration Services for this one. So the key takeaways are, as I told you, I started learning Azure. I'm still in the fundamental space. Maybe I'll learn more in the coming months. But I felt it's really cool. You do not have to be a developer. You do not have to be a DBA, or you do not have to definitely know the T-SQL to get started. It is really easy to learn and start your Azure journey. And when you have seen the Azure SQL database, right? The performance also have the improvements, the performance wise, because you have that intelligent automatic tuning under the intelligent performance, and there is also certain features that are included in Azure SQL database, and it's in the preview mode for the query store. So there is also automatic tuning also for the query store, meaning that, as you know, query store will actually capture the execution plans. And by having this option like the automatic tuning, there is something known as automatic correction for the query store, where it will go ahead and uh, compare the compare the execution plans. Like if your queries are building the new execution plans, and if there is a lot of difference between the performance, if the new build execution plan is performing very low, then the automatic correction will automatically go ahead and force the last good plan. So that is currently available in Azure SQL database. And there are a couple of more options like query hints that are in the preview mode for the Azure SQL database. And it will save a lot of money because all you get is a SQL database, and you do not have to worry about buying the hardware or upgrades, patches, right? And less maintenance. But as a DBA, we still have to focus on the performance, because behind the scenes, we are still running the SQL queries. We need to make sure we are monitoring things performance wise, and knowing how much each of these features and services cost, how much the client have to pay to run our services on the Azure. So we are responsible as a DBA not only to migrate, but once we migrate, what are we going to do in the Azure? So as a DBA, we are going to expand our skills, expand our responsibilities. It's like DBA on the cloud kind of responsibilities. So the main important thing I wanted to tell you in this slide is the last one, Microsoft Virtual Training Days that are happening around the year uh, by Microsoft, sponsored by Microsoft. It is completely free. They do train you for the certifications, the basic certifications. Like if you go ahead and search on Google Microsoft Virtual Training Days, you see all of those: introduction to Azure SQL Database, introduction to AI. Not only they train you, but also they give you the coupon code at the end of your training days so that you can go ahead and take the certifications for free, which is like really cool. And all the other resources that you have here, you have Microsoft Learn TV available on YouTube. Bob Ward and Anna Hoffman has put the resources together. Like each video is like 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And by going through all of those trainings, you can even take certifications, the higher level certifications as well. I started learning my Azure, I started my Azure journey by following these resources as well. So if you go ahead, like if you wanted to expand more on this topic, go and search on Google Azure SQL Fundamentals, which will get you the videos of Azure Fundamentals by Bob Ward and Anna Hoffman. And I followed Microsoft Docs. I looked into those modules. I learned from them, and at the same time, I followed Azure SQL Fundamental videos as well to prepare this presentation. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, DBA Nuggets is the Twitter handle and the LinkedIn, as well as my blog over there. And I would like to thank the entire team for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present for Future Data Driven Summit 2021. Thank you so much.